President Biden continues his executive order frenzy, setting a record early in his presidency with a total of 47 orders in action signed in just the last 2 weeks. Yesterday's focus was immigration. Biden signed 3 new orders targeting former President Trump's work along the border, and which he said needs to be rolled back.
There's a lot of talk, with good reason, about the number of executive orders that I have signed. I'm not making new law. I'm eliminating bad policy. The last president of the United States issued executive orders I thought were very counterproductive to our security, counterproductive to who we are as a country.
Joining me now to break this down, Mark Krikorian, Executive Director of the Center for Immigration Studies. Mark, always good to see you.
Thank you.
Tell me, in this new Biden flurry of executive orders, there are a few things. We've got a few of them laid out for the folks at home. Task force to reunify families, strategy to address irregular migration, create a human asylum system, and a 3-part plan for safe, lawful, and orderly migration. Let's start, there you go on the screen there. Let's start with the top one, because we heard a lot about this. Separated families, that children were never reunified with their families, and this was talked about as a human rights violation of the Trump administration. What really went on here? What's going on? I mean, nobody actually wants kids to be separated from their parents. What happened?
Well, actually, in some cases, the parents prefer it. This is a holdover from an earlier policy. It's too long to go into, but they were under the Trump administration. Illegal immigrants who brought kids with them were being prosecuted because it's a crime to cross illegally. The kids aren't prosecuted because they're kids. So that ended up putting them into foster care. Most of them were delivered to relatives, but it was badly run, and there were kids who fell between the cracks. But in following up, what they found is that most of those kids, they found the parents. The parents are back in the old country. They don't want the kids to be sent back. The parents are the ones who are insisting those families stay split, except on one condition. They're willing to be reunified with their kids if we fly the parents into the United States. And that's almost certainly what's going to end up happening under Biden.
So in some cases, you're telling me, Mark, children who were separated from their parents but stayed in the U.S., stayed in the system, so to speak, their parents, who were illegal immigrants into the country, went back to Central America in this case, and are essentially using this as a bargaining chip, saying, yeah, we want to be reunited when you bring us back to America. That's what's going on?
That's kind of what it boils down to. It's only a few hundred cases, but yes, that's what it amounts to. I mean, the only reason this is even highlighted in an executive order is that it's a political cudgel the other side is using. I mean, literally, we're talking about a few hundred cases.
And then the strategy to address irregular migration, as Biden lays it out. That sounds like it leaves a lot of open territory, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the point is we're going to deal with the reasons people are coming illegally. That's what they're saying. And there's 2 parts to that. One is hector those governments to be less corrupt. We're supposedly going to give them aid, and giving aid is going to make them less corrupt, which is ridiculous. I mean, if we could do that kind of thing, the world would already be fixed. We've been trying to do foreign aid for, 75 years now? It hasn't done a lot of good. The other half of this supposedly limiting illegal immigration in this executive order is to just bring more people here legally, to fly them in under something called the Central American Minors Program, where under Obama, we basically just brought the children of illegal immigrants in the United States here to join them on our tab. So this is not in any way going to succeed in limiting the number of people from Central America coming in. All it's going to do, some of it is basically for show to say that we're trying to fix the root problem. It says root problem like 5 times in this order. And the other half of it is just bring them here, fly them in here legally, preferably in the middle of the night so nobody notices.
We were talking just a moment ago about how it's even though, as you point out, it's hundreds of cases, not even thousands of cases, but hundreds of cases of continued family separation. It is used in political discussions constantly. Here's what Joe Biden said about it earlier this week.
We're going to work to undo the moral and national shame of the previous administration that literally, not figuratively, ripped children from the arms of their families, their mothers and fathers at the border, and with no plan, none whatsoever, to reunify the children who are still in custody and their parents.
So the Biden administration has also put out in their border plan talking points here, create a humane asylum system. What does that actually look like? Or create, it says human asylum system on our screen there, but what does that look like?
What it means is everybody gets in who says they, are seeking asylum. The reason what happened was when the asylum system was spinning out of control, really, was because people were coming in, they were saying the magic words that they feared persecution in their home country. They were coached on what to say by smugglers and by American lawyers, and they were just released into the United States with a hearing date at some point, many months, maybe even years in the future. Some of them showed up for those hearings, but none of them.
Do we know the percentages,
left.
Mark, by the way? Because I know it was some showed, but a lot didn't. Do we have some sense of what the overall percentage was of those who
we don't
actually?
have an exact percentage. Well, we do actually have a decent percentage of some of the numbers. Something like 75 to 80% of people who said they feared persecution passed the first cut, which is called a credible fear interview, with very low standard. Basically, are you getting messages from Mickey Mouse through your dental work? I mean, it's almost that bad. So of those 75 or 80% of the original group, half of them never even bothered to apply for asylum because they were released into the country in order to apply for asylum.
Which
half
was the
of them
whole
didn't.
point, right?
It was just a gimmick.
Yeah,
And of the other half, almost all of them were turned down for asylum. Almost none of them leave.
So, Mark, another thing that came up this week, and I just have to, I find this so interesting. We got a Daily Caller headline on this one, that the DOJ has targeted Elon Musk's SpaceX for allegedly preferring to hire U.S. citizens. I think to a lot of people, myself included, you read this, you say, hold on a second. Isn't it fine to prefer to hire U.S. citizens in America? Turns out that's an issue.
It sure is. And it's even worse. It wasn't just American citizens, because what they're saying is that Elon Musk refused to hire somebody who was neither a U.S. citizen nor a green card holder. In other words, this was somebody on one of the gimmicky, frankly, semi-legal guest worker programs, probably something called OPT, and they didn't hire him. And yet, supposedly, anybody who has work authorization, you have to hire, even in a sensitive technology like this. It's kind of ridiculous, and it is telling, because under the Trump administration, the Justice Department's same office punished a number of employers for discriminating against American workers in favor of foreign workers. So it's pretty clear what's going on here.
Yeah, and America last immigration policy from the Biden administration. No surprise in that one. Mark, always appreciate your work. Thanks so much.